I call the Honourable Clayton Cosgrove.
Well, Mr Speaker, we now know the marketing strategy of the National Party. Say a cut is a modification. Say a cut is streamlining. You know, don't call a cut a cut. So this is the sort of spin that member's come up with. You know, we modified working for families. No, the facts are that 200,000 participants in that scheme are getting a cut. It's a small word, 3 letters. Everybody apart from that member understands what it's meaning. It's not streamlining. And likewise for KiwiSaver. No, on the one hand, members say they want to, especially that member there, wants to encourage a savings culture. That member who just spoke said, we've modified or streamlined KiwiSaver. No, you've kicked it in the guts. And every participant in KiwiSaver has had a kick in the guts from that member. They don't feel like they've been streamlined or modified. They know what it is. The people aren't stupid. That member thinks his constituents are stupid. They know and smell a cut when they see it. When they see it, not a modification. Now, I say to that member, it's very interesting, because the National Party, of course, has banked this whole budget on a series of projections. 170,000 jobs created, 4% wage growth over 3 or 4 years. But that's a very interesting set of projections. I can remember another set of projections nigh on a year plus ago. The great plan was going to be a job summit. Then that went west and we had a cycleway, which was going to be the nirvana in terms of job creation for this country. I'm told to date, I think the numbers are around 70 people employed on a cycleway to nowhere. Then that went west, and Jerry Brownlee, the sort of parliamentary blunderbuss of the chamber, had a brilliant idea, the first, I suspect, well, in his terms in his life, let's mine on national parks. That lasted 5 minutes. That was going to be the great job creator. The roads would be paved with gold and other miracles, according to Jerry. And then, of course, we had, no, that's off, we're going to make New Zealand an international financial hub. That was a great slogan. It lasted 5 minutes. We've never heard from it again. So I say to the National Party, who've sort of responded to because they know the people know that they have no plan, so their plan is to say they have a plan, say it often enough, and hopefully people will believe it. They didn't get it last time. No member on that side, when they articulated a plan, actually put it into place. So I say to those members, do people really think they're going to be believed now? I also say this, that we now know, and they use the Canterbury earthquake, and I must say I do get a little bit raw, that these members would use the Canterbury earthquake over and over again as some sort of alibi, to cover their tracks in terms of what they are doing now. They make a case that says that the $16 billion deficit which they have delivered in this budget, that somehow the great contributor to that was the Canterbury earthquake. Well, if they read the budget documents, they will now know that the Canterbury earthquake, according to Treasury's own figures, contributed a mere 10% of accumulated deficit. 10% of that accumulated deficit. So now we've dealt with that load of bunkum and that ally, and I say, that alibi, and I say to members, think carefully before you use the people of Canterbury and that earthquake as an alibi for a $16 billion deficit, because we now know, thanks to the government's own budget documents, that that is not the case. Now, the last speaker talked about the record of the last government. Well, I say this. Here's a couple of facts. Low unemployment, high growth, and 9 years of surpluses. And who agreed with us on that? Well, on the 19th of December, 2008, just some days after taking office, the Finance Minister, Bill English, said the following in the New Zealand Herald, quote, "I want to stress that New Zealand starts from a reasonable position in dealing with the uncertainty of our economic outlook." Say it again, slowly, for the more challenged members on the other side. Quote, "I want to stress that New Zealand starts from a reasonable position in dealing with the uncertainty of our economic outlook," unquote. Now, to unbundle that statement, what Mr English was saying is thank God we had 9 years of surpluses so we can actually try and deal with this global economic meltdown as it impacts on New Zealand, unlike other countries who spent the lot. And I recall, as I said in my first reading speech, as Associate Minister of Finance, being taunted, as we all were in government, by then Bill English, opposition spokesperson, taunting us, saying we were mean-spirited because we didn't spend the dough. We were squirreling away all these surpluses day after day. We were a mean government. We should be frittering it away. Well, that member at the back, sort of squawking, wasn't in the chamber at the time, so I forgive him for his lack of historical knowledge. We were told you're being mean because you didn't spend the lot. And I say to the members, this is a document from the budget, from a series of budgets from 2000. I'll read a couple of figures. These are the surpluses that we had. Year 2000, 594 million. Year 2000, and the member says, for God's sake, she says over there, because she doesn't like it. No, not for God's sake, for her sake, I say. 2001, $1.4 billion surplus. 2002, $2.4 billion surplus. 2003, $4.3 billion surplus. And it goes on right up to a high in 2006 of $7.1 billion surplus, and when we left office, a $5.6 billion surplus. So if we're looking at facts about economic track record and what this government inherited, there it is in black and white. Then we fast forward to today, where the biggest surplus, I think in our history, deficit, $16 billion has been delivered by this government. Now here's the problem when you're in government. You, not you, sir, they are responsible. I don't think the members over there have quite got it. When they win an election, they become accountable, they become responsible for their own performance. And at some point, they've actually got to stand up and say, we're taking the hit, we're biting the bullet, we are accountable, we are responsible. So what they've delivered up today, apart from all the... Oh, no, here we go, come on, a bit more life. The blood's pumping through the veins, sir. What they've delivered up today is a cut in KiwiSaver, yet they say they want to encourage a savings culture. A cut in working families, yet they bleat aloud that, well, I want to look after people, except there's 200,000 participants there that are going to receive a cut. The last speaker then has a crack at us because we want to provide some GST relief around fresh fruit and vegetables, says it's all a slogan, it's all hoo-ha. Well, that suggests to me that that member may be, like all of us in this chamber, in a privileged position where we can probably afford a decent feed 7 nights a week, or in one member's case a few more than that, but he's in another place. I say this, sir, that member can probably afford it. Maybe what I suggest he do and others is go round the food banks. I think it was Mrs King who challenged the Prime Minister maybe to visit one, or McGee and Close, or a few other places where people are battling away, and maybe ask them what they think about the cost of living and their food and grocery bill. Maybe they should do that. That may be instructive for them as they sort of bleat cliches about looking after people tonight. And then we come to the other plank, of course, which is going to solve all ills, the sale of assets, where that crew presents a proposition to people that says, you've all got a lot of money out there, New Zealanders, ordinary mums and dads. You can buy back the assets that you already own. That's a proposition they put up to them. A great benevolent government. Kiwis, buy back the assets you already own, and you have a lot of disposable income to do that. What a benevolent government. They don't tell people, of course, what happened last time when they did it, and everybody was promised they would be better off. And they don't tell people, of course, that those who will want to invest in our assets will be foreign companies and foreign institutions and foreign agencies. And of course, quite rightly, those foreign institutions, having invested in those SOEs, like the power companies and generators, will require, logically, a dividend from them. They will want their pound of flesh, and that pound of flesh will be in the form of higher power prices delivered to consumers over the cold winter. And then they somehow, in a benevolent way, put icing on the cake by saying, we're going to go to the country with this, even though it's in the budget documents that the decision is already made, that they are going to do it. They're sort of, I think, as my Green colleague said, asking for a mandate in retrospect, or words to that effect. So I say to those members, if you want to get up on your hind legs and actually compare economic and political records, then do it with facts. Old Sooty over there won't get up and compare his record because that member has delivered a $16 billion deficit, where we delivered 9 years of surpluses, sir, and we stand on our record in government.
I call the honourable